Okay. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me. My name is Brandelyn Green, and I'm the founder of VoiceOfHair, and I'm super excited. Today, I'm using a different technology so that I can show you a couple pictures and be able to interact with y'all. So hopefully you will like it, and if you have any questions about it, definitely just leave a comment below. So today I'm super duper excited because I wanted to talk to you about 5 reasons why your scalp may be itchy and irritated. And the reason why I want to talk about this topic is because I get so many DMs, emails, and questions about people and their scalp and just talking about itchiness. And so I thought, you know what, let's just go live and talk about maybe some of the underlying issues. But before we get into that, again, I'm Brandelyn Green. I'm the founder of VoiceOfHair. And if you are new to the page or to this channel, thank you for joining us. I want you to just go ahead and do one thing. The first thing I always love to do is just know who is with me. So will y'all just do me a favor and let me know what city or state or country you're tuning in from? Again, I am Brandelyn. I'm the founder, and I live in Austin, Texas. And also, I would love to know if you are like a hairstylist. If you're a stylist, go ahead and drop that below. Or if you're a content creator, or if you're just somebody who is looking to have healthy hair and you just love hair, drop that below, because I always am curious about, what everybody is into and kind of like what brought you to the page. Okay, I see New Jersey, Fraser, Michigan, Tyler, Texas, Virginia, NYC. Thank y'all so much for joining. Super Wichita, Texas, Dallas. Okay, so I see we definitely have the country covered, and I'm sure we got some people from in other countries too. And I don't want to take too much of your time because I really do want to get into some of the goods here. But thank y'all for tuning in. And if you're joining late, just go ahead. Oh, hey, from South Africa. Thank you for joining us. But if you're new here and you have a question and I don't get to it, just make sure you type it below and I'll come back and answer all the questions. But again, today we're going to talk about 5 reasons why your scalp may be itchy and irritated. And this is my first time using this technology, y'all. So I tried to have a couple of questions and prompts up here. So the first one was supposed to be, where are you from? So you can go ahead and type that if you haven't. But the next thing I really want to just talk to you about is really who I am. So if you don't know, VoiceOfHair is a platform I started a couple years ago, really trying to help Black women and Latino, all of my beautiful sisters, find the best hairstyles and hairstylists and now products. We make the VoiceOfHair Pure Fix Hair Elixir. If you don't know about this product, you probably should. We have over 1,500 4- and 5-star reviews on our website and Amazon. And we have thousands of customers around the world. So thank you for that. But again, I'm excited because I have some knowledge that I think could be helpful. So let's get into the real topic of what we're here to talk about. And that is 5 reasons why your scalp may be super duper itchy. Okay. Number 1, this is a very common issue, but the number 1 reason why people have these irritated scalps that they just don't know what's going on is because dandruff. So dandruff is basically the most common itchy scalp problem, and it really could be caused by a lot of things. So irritated and oily skin is one really common issue that causes chronic dandruff for people. Another is not shampooing enough, and that is really big, especially like in the natural hair community, because a lot of people like to co-wash where they're using conditioner to wash your hair, but unfortunately that doesn't get your scalp clean, and that can actually cause dandruff, which are those little white flakes that we see all over. Another is Malassezia, which is a yeast-like fungus that feeds on oils on the scalp brought on by age, hormone, or stress. So that's really like the most common. And so sometimes if we are like applying oils, like oils are great, right? But you can overdo it. And when you have a buildup, you actually can create more scalp conditions. So that's why it's important for us to wash our hair on a regular basis. If you have texture hair, you definitely don't want to go beyond that 7 to 14 day mark. But some people like try to stretch it out like 2 or 3 months, and it's not really the best. It's not always best for your scalp. Another reason why you can actually have dandruff is just straight up dry scalp. Sorry, y'all, I'm a little bit delayed, so I'm just seeing some of your comments. Another reason why you might actually have dandruff is due to dry skin, or you could actually have a sensitivity to hair products. So like some products, as you know, they have things like parabens or sodium lauryl sulfate. Some of those ingredients actually can be irritating and can create more scalp conditions like dandruff. So you want to be, if you have a sensitive scalp like myself, you definitely want to pay attention to the ingredients in your products and try to go for things that have more natural ingredients in them. And then also dandruff can actually be caused by older age. So as you may or may not know, as we get older, especially as you get postmenopausal, our scalp, we don't produce as much sebum, which is the natural oil on our scalp. And because we're producing a lot of sebum, which kind of helps to regulate our pH on our scalp, we can start to develop dandruff. So I know these are like not super sexy things to talk about, but the good news is like there are things we can do. So let's get into how we can actually soothe the itch. Oh, one question is just kind of how do you know how often you should wash your hair? So if you have very fine hair, kind of like many Caucasian people have, where it's very fine texture, they might need to wash their hair every couple of days because the oil, the sebum on their scalp actually is able to work its way all the way down the hair shaft, and as a result their hair will get really oily. But when you have hair like me, I can't wash my hair every day, it would be too dry. So you want to find a good balance, but definitely try not to go longer than 2 weeks, and that kind of just helps promote a healthier scalp, which is where your hair can grow healthy. Okay, so that's the number one, and that's a very common issue, which is dandruff. So let's get into number two. The second reason why you might actually have a very itchy scalp, and why I think it's super important to understand, is it could be something called scalp psoriasis. So let me show you kind of an example of what that looks like. But scalp psoriasis, give me 1 second. Let me show y'all. Can y'all see that? Let me see. Okay, so like that's what scalp psoriasis looks like. And it's really when your immune system sends signals to your cells to grow too rapidly. And so it's just, those skin cells start to build up and layer on top of each other. And it creates like a thick encrusted plaque over the entire scalp. And it really can cause that itching and irritation that just doesn't seem to go away. Oh, and I forgot to say, if you know of anybody who has like really bad scalp issues, please like and share this video, because some people might be wondering and thinking, oh, I just tried this new shampoo or this new oil, maybe that's what's making my scalp itch, but it could be something, like an underlying cause. So please like and share this if you know someone who, this could be helpful for. But back to scalp psoriasis. So you can see, let me show you and make it bigger. The plaques around the scalp is just very big, and also this can cause a lot of hair loss because the hair cannot grow through it. So it's super important to understand if that is something you're going through. Now, if you know that this is an issue that you have, there are some over-the-counter medications that you can use. But honestly, the best thing to do is to get a recommendation from your doctor. Sometimes they can recommend shampoos kind of like salicylic acid and those that have tar in them, because salicylic acid actually helps to soften those scales on the scalp. And tar, which can be made from wood or coal, it actually helps to slow the growth of those skin cells that create those patches on the scalp. But definitely talk to your dermatologist and see what's recommended. I know for a fact, one thing that you can do for dandruff treatments is you can use aloe vera. So I did a live a little while ago, and I just showed you guys how like I take aloe, like a big aloe plant, and I cut it up and I actually apply this to my scalp. And I do this along with our hair elixir. And first I apply the aloe, then I apply the elixir, and I mix it all in. And then I put on my VoiceOfHair shower cap, which can actually be used as a deep conditioning cap. And then I would let it sit for 15 minutes if I'm sitting under a dryer, or 30 minutes if I'm not. And that allows, aloe just really helps to naturally regulate the pH. And so you would just cut off, the size. This is the old piece of aloe that's almost needs to be thrown out, but you're going to cut off the sides of the aloe. You can take the gel and apply it directly to your scalp, or some people recommend taking the gel. You can add a little bit of water to it, and then you can mix it in a blender and create like a spray. It's up to you. It's so many different remedies out there, but if you have, either of those conditions, that's a really good idea. Also, I forgot to mention for dandruff, other things that you can do is, they have like those shampoos like ketoconazole, which doesn't really work for me, but one of the things you can do is an apple cider vinegar rinse with a quarter cup of apple cider vinegar, a quarter cup of water, let that sit for 15 minutes and rinse it out. And then when you're done, you're going to, wash and condition your hair as normal. So that's what I wanted to share with you. That's kind of what I'm going to come back to, one of those questions, but that's really like a very simple thing if you have very itchy scalp. The other thing I want to say, if you all, because you're watching this live, I also do have a special offer. Anyone who is interested in our hair elixir or any products in our store, 15% off today. And so I'm going to put the link in here, and you can check that out yourself if that's something that you need to add, because it's helpful in a lot of different ways. Okay, so now we covered dandruff and scalp psoriasis. I want to talk about the third issue for your scalp that might be causing really bad scalp irritations, and that is folliculitis. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay. Let me make it bigger. So this is what folliculitis looks like. And if you're experiencing an itchy scalp along with red bumps that kind of look like acne or sort of breakout on your hair, that could be something called folliculitis. And what happens is it's actually caused by damage to your hair follicles. So you might be wondering, well, what could I be doing that could damage my hair follicles? Well, a couple of things could be causing damage and you may not even know it. One is product buildup. So again, kind of how I talked about how a lot of us like to do, the co-washing and stuff, but then we don't want to purify our scalp or clarify it. So sometimes when you have a lot of product buildup, that can happen. Also, frequent and rough scratching. So if you're somebody who, you're always like scratching with your fingernails, especially, or even, you just scratch a lot, you actually could be damaging the follicles, and you could open yourself up to get something like this called folliculitis. Also, wearing braids in tight styles, protective styles, when they're pulling at your scalp. And I've had this before, actually, like I get my hair braided and, your hair is so tight, you can't even smile. And then you look closer and you see those little bumps. Well, that is actually, it could be folliculitis. So you definitely want to make sure that you're not wearing tight styles for that reason. But sometimes men or women get this like from shaving their heads. Also, if you frequently wear wigs, weaves, hats, and anything that's just creating a lot of moisture around your hair constantly, and you're not allowing your scalp to breathe, you could be opening your hair and your follicles up to this type of infection. So it's two different types of folliculitis. One is more severe. One is called deep, and one is called superficial. So superficial is kind of like, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know exactly which kind we're looking at right here, but it only affects part of the follicle. But deep folliculitis actually affects the entire hair follicle, and obviously can just make it super inflamed. So the way to soothe the itch or any problem like this, you want to definitely talk to your doctor, because they might have antifungal creams or antibacterial medicine that you need to take to stop this. But also, if you're somebody who doesn't like using all that stuff, or you want to try to treat it at home first, a warm compress is definitely something that you can do, because sometimes those bumps get inflamed with pus, which is kind of gross, but it's the reality for some people. Also, medicated shampoos like I mentioned, the ketoconazole, the cyclopirox, and other shampoos that have like tea tree oils in it, because tea tree is a natural like scalp soother, and it also does help to treat like the itchiness. Also, another option is like cortisone cream, and then of course just washing your hair more often to prevent this kind of thing from happening. So that is the third issue that could be causing an itchy scalp and you may not know it. So let me go back. So the fourth thing that could be causing a really itchy scalp that a lot of people dismiss is alopecia areata. So I have a lot of customers who buy our hair elixir, and they, sometimes I'll hear from people, they'll say, hey, my scalp is just so itchy. I don't know what's going on. And after like we're probing and they tell me, oh, well, they have alopecia and they're trying to, restore their hair. But one of the things is that alopecia is a condition that attacks your immune system and it attacks your hair follicles. And so when the condition becomes active, a lot of people, not everybody, but some people actually experience scalp irritation, and they experience like a lot of itchiness or like a tingling sensation in their hair. And so, the first thing you always want to do in a situation like that is check with your doctor and see what they can do. Sometimes they give you topical steroid injections or give you medication that can soothe that. Also, when it's possible, you definitely want to try to get help for this condition as soon as possible, because alopecia, in this type of alopecia areata, sometimes it'll start with like small spots where you just have like hair missing, and sometimes that can grow and it can grow around your hair. And like I said, when that condition becomes active, it can just be extremely annoying and irritating for people. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind. Now, the fifth thing that you want to look out for and what causes a very itchy scalp is a sweaty and dirty scalp. Let me close this. Sorry. So a sweaty and dirty scalp. And that is really a very like basic thing, but sometimes many of us, I had these little things and I didn't use. Sometimes many of us are not washing our hair as often, and we are getting bacteria trapped up because, from going outside, the dirt, the dust, the sweat, all of that. And, a lot of times people will be like, well, my hair grows better when it's dirty, but that's just a myth. I feel like our grandparents or our grandmothers may have told us that when we were younger, but that's not actually the truth about what makes our hair grow. So dirt and sweat and oils can be a breeding ground for fungi and yeast. And so that can actually cause a lot of irritation and a lot of itchiness on your scalp. So, you might be like, okay, well, what's the solution for this issue? Especially like if you work out a lot, or you just, are wearing, let's say, your wigs, a lot during this time. The solution is to really just wash your hair and try to wash your hair more often. So like I mentioned before, every 2 weeks, if you can, try to make sure that you're washing your hair, doing scalp treatments, scalp scrubs. Again, you can do like a DIY with some aloe vera. And what you want to do, especially like under your wigs, take them off every 2 weeks, get your hair washed, your hair conditioned, and get it massaged, and then allow your hair to become free and keeping all that dirt off of your scalp. So that is kind of, those are, so that if you missed it, the first reason that your scalp could be itchy is due to dandruff. We talked a little bit about that. And what you can do there, you can get medicated shampoos, you can do apple cider vinegar rinses, you can do treatments with aloe vera. Also, you can do hot oil treatments. If you are worried about your scalp being dry, you can use our elixir for that. The second reason why your scalp might be itchy could be due to scalp psoriasis. So, if that is something that you suffer from, make sure you talk to your doctor about different solutions. But again, aloe vera is definitely one of my favorite. Folliculitis is something that can happen when your hair and your styles are being pulled tight, and especially if you shave your hair. So be careful with that and make sure that you are keeping your scalp clean and don't keep anything on it too long. And number 4 is alopecia areata. So, you know, if you know that you have this condition going on and you're feeling like itchiness and stuff, your doctor can definitely give you some topical steroids or injections to help alleviate that. And then number 5, this is super basic, a dirty and sweaty scalp. And one that I actually didn't mention here that we didn't talk about is a hair dye allergy. So a lot of us, you know, during quarantine and COVID, a lot of people are, you know, taking care of their hair on their own, but some of us have allergies to the ingredients in hair dyes. So you want to be careful, and just like, if you do notice, hey, I just dyed my hair and now my hair is on fire, my scalp is on fire, you could have an allergy. So I think there are definitely some hair colors that you can look for that don't have, I believe the ingredient is PPD. I might be wrong on that one, but you can look and make sure that, you know, you avoid those when you're shopping for products. So those are, you know, the couple of things that you can do. Yes, especially if, you know, some of these issues that I mentioned before can also be caused by lack of nutrients. Our diets, I know personally, you know, having a high carb, high sugar diet, you know, when you're stressed or, you know, just at home during these times, that can also lead to scalp issues. For me, it's seborrheic dermatitis. And I get a lot of scaling on my scalp, but I also know that that comes from using or from stress, as well as like diet and vitamin deficiencies. Yeah, you definitely want to use moisturizing products. Our elixir actually has black seed oil, black castor oil, menthol. It has neem oil, which is a naturally soothing ingredient. So I have a special offer today for all of my viewers of the live. It's voiceofhaircare.com. I'm going to copy that again. And this is where you can go and you can get a discount. This will be valid for 24 hours and you can take 15% off. You also can use it to buy this deep conditioning cap, which also doubles as a shower cap, one that I use every day, especially with my hair being curly. It protects your hair, but also it makes it super easy for wash day when you want to keep a cap on and you want to kind of be mobile around the house. So that is all. Did y'all have any other questions that I'm missing? Let me just go back and, okay, so I see a question about you have a daughter, LaDawn, and your children are biracial. You've tried a lot of products. I think it just depends on what their texture is. One thing that we didn't talk about here, but I have in a previous live, is make sure you understand if your hair is high porosity or low porosity, or their hair. So if your hair, understanding the porosity level will help you figure out how to use the product, because sometimes it's not the products, it's just that we don't know how to use the products properly. So in your case, in order to figure out your daughter's porosity, if you haven't done it just yet, you can actually take, you know, a strand of their hair, put it in a cup of water and see if the hair floats, if it stays in the middle, or if it goes down to the bottom of the cup. If it floats on top, it means it's low porosity, which means it's really difficult for moisture to in and stay in. So you might want to do like the LCO method, where you add like a leave-in, a cream, and then oil as a final step. But if their hair is like, if the hair, when you do the test, the hair goes to the middle of the cup, then it means that it's medium porosity and it's pretty healthy and it should be able to use many different products. But if the hair is high porosity and it goes to the bottom of the cup, it means that the hair, their follicles are very open, which means that moisture in products, moisture can easily get in, but it also easily can get out. And so you definitely want to do things like deep conditioning the hair regularly. So sometimes it's just a matter of like understanding what your hair type is, so you know how to treat it. I hope that's helpful. Okay, Bessie, that's a really great question. Bessie asked about doing a live on how to prevent breakage, and that's a super good question. We can definitely cover that in the next one, but a couple tips that I can give you right now. Yes, I do go deeper into hair porosity in that previous video, so it's one of the lives on this channel. But Bessie, to answer your question about preventing breakage, again, just to be sure we're on the same page, you know, breakage is when you like, if you look at a strand of hair and you can see the bulb, like you know, when I pull out a strand of my hair, I usually will see like a little white bulb at the top, and then I'll see the hair strand. So that's shedding. But if we see, like, you know, short little pieces of hair like on our countertops and our comb, that's breakage, and that could become from lack of protein, our hair like needing protein. Maybe your body is not, you know, you're not getting enough in your diet, and so it's being reflected in your hair. It also could be due to styling, you know, like you could be detangling your hair when it's dry and it's breaking, and maybe you need to detangle like with a detangling product and while it's damp. So it's a couple of different things, but I definitely will come back and we can talk about that more. But if you have other questions, please don't hesitate to leave them here, and I'm gonna come back again. I do have this offer for our hair elixir, as well as anything on our site for 24 hours, 15% off using the discount code SAVE25, or you can use this link. But thank you all for joining me, and I appreciate you engaging. I hope you all have a blessed weekend, okay?